attention to detail. It's also about the sacrifice for an entire group. It's also about our staff, being so dialed in to the prep, and also the trust. The trust is real, and so I'm just so excited for this moment. It's great that we have the Michigan fan base supporting us from start to finish.
I'll let you go celebrate. Congratulations, Coach. You're going to Sweet 16.
Thank you.
Yes! Eli Brooks with the hook shot there at the end. Smithian. And Jim Scarcelli ready to talk about Michigan heading to the Sweet 16 for the 5th year in a row. Scar, how you doing?
I'm good. I've been texting with all my Michigan buddies, boy. We're blowing up the phone. A lot of happy Wolverines, man. Big win. A lot of guys played great. A lot of good stuff to talk about.
Well, let's get into it. This game, I liked how Michigan came out, and they were aggressive. They were hitting their shots. Then they started turning it over a little bit, and this Kennedy was lightning quick there for the Vols. And last couple minutes of the first half, Tennessee able to take that lead, and you're just thinking to Michigan, they're down 5. They played a pretty good half, but they turned it over 9 times to just 3 times for Tennessee, and that looked like it was going to be the big factor in the second half. But you got to give it to a number of guys. I'd say, where would you start when you're starting to, talk about who deserves some thumbs up in this one?
Almost all of the Michigan players played at least average, slightly better than average. And I think we needed all of that. Hunter was a little better than average. Brooks did some good things, made some big shots. Frankie Collins, again, is doing some really good things, especially defensively. This team had 2 of the best guards we've seen all year. They got some fast guards, and they were tough to defend. They caused a lot of turnovers, and they definitely turned us over. But obviously, Hunter was solid. Brooks made some big shots. Williams was outstanding. I would have put Williams in a little sooner because, Caleb Houston was just struggling today in a lot of ways. And Williams came in, and he was huge with those 2 tip-ins, made a 3 early in the game. Williams is really getting better, man.
Yeah, I'm with you on Terrence Williams. I think if there's an unsung guy, because Hunter Dickinson, he was awesome in this game, and Michigan was running their offense through him, and Eli Brooks did hit that big shot, especially that hook shot late. But Terrence Williams flying in there, getting those offensive rebounds and the putbacks and being able to make those free throws, that was huge. Diabate stepping up to the stripe. The thing about this game here is Michigan gets Devontae Jones, a little bit of shot in the arm, but then, he's getting banged around and, they didn't have him. So that's a lot of pressure on Frankie Collins here, again, who played so fabulous just 2 days ago. But for Michigan to be able to get this win, and Tennessee, who looked like they couldn't miss anything, and the last 10 minutes of this game, man, they just went cold.
Yeah, that was it. That was the story of the game. It's like, God, these guys don't miss anything. The 5-footers, the 10-footers. We did a pretty good job defending the 3-point line. They didn't shoot the ball great. I think they were only made 2 or 3 the whole game from 3, but they made a bunch of 10-footers, 8-footers, 6-foot. They did a lot of that, and you're absolutely right. It all ended around 6 minutes left in the game. What we got here? Go Blue! Holy cow! Where did this version team come from? Well, we've been there, man. We beat Purdue. We beat some good teams. This Michigan team is capable. It's just which one is going to show up. Are we going to make shots? Are we going to play smart? And I thought we did a pretty damn good job on defense against this team because we made them take tough shots. They made them, but. In defending the guards, one of the biggest things losing Jones was our other 2 guards had to play so much, because they weren't able to come out of the game. I'm surprised he didn't put Bufkin in. He probably didn't think Bufkin could play with those fast guards. I'm thinking that's why he maybe didn't put him in.
Yeah, Frankie got a foul there that I didn't think it was a good call. He was just playing defense, but those are going to happen. When Eli Brooks dribbled out of bounds there, I thought maybe the pressure was going to get to them, but they were able to break that pressure and able to make free throws. And Michigan hasn't been really good in blocking shots, but you had Hunter Dickinson there at the end. Hunter Dickinson was he was awesome in this game. Yeah, he really was. Michigan needed to have a presence there, and for him to knock down those first 2 threes, that felt like a shot in the arm. But he had it going. I know you don't like when he gives it the and one, but he had that going early on, and he.
Hey, Denny, I don't mind if he does all that stuff with in the framework of his team. Not directing it at the other team is the big thing I don't like to see. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just keep it within your team, to your bench, and we're good, man. That's good energy.
Yeah, you were reading a little bit of Deez's feedback here. He said, still making mistakes and playing ugly at times, but getting the best from certain players. Yeah, you get to this point, there's the old saying here, you watch enough tournament games, it's just survive and advance at this point. It doesn't, like Caleb Houston had, that was the worst game I've ever seen him play, but here he is. They're going to need him in the next round. And this team didn't look like they were going to make the NCAA tournament for a long stretch of this season here. People were talking about this team being in the NIT. People were looking at the 2 freshmen. And then, we just talked about Caleb Houston and Diabate and saying, these guys aren't 5 stars. Frankie Collins didn't hit a shot in almost 90 days, a 3-pointer. And this is what the NCAA tournament's all about. You win a couple games, and that's all in the rearview mirror. To get to the Sweet 16 for this team, considering how they played all year long, it's a terrific accomplishment. You never want to just say, oh, hey, they've maxed out, they've reached their ceiling here. But Ohio State, Villanova, they're going to play the winner. Up next, you get to watch that game tomorrow. And if you're a Michigan basketball fan, there's only been 2 teams. Gonzaga and Michigan that have made the Sweet 16 in the last 5 years, the kind of run that Michigan's on. This is huge for the program, for Juwan Howard. There are a lot of people down on Juwan Howard. Of course, he got suspended for those last 5 games. The first half of that first game, people are looking at him, myself included, looking at this team thinking, wow, they're not ready to go. And then, here they are. To come back and play the 2 second halves like they did here in these 2 NCAA tournament games is pretty incredible.
Well, we've got some depth developed. There's anything we did a good job of is developing depth. So we're able to withstand when a guy like Jones is out. But Denny, look at last year. UCLA was a play-in game. So you talk about any team any day. You're a Power 5 team. And you go through a schedule like we played, we beat good teams, man. And there's good players on our team. And anything can happen. Like I said, UCLA was a play-in game. They made it to the final last year.
Good point.
And so we're playing good, sound defense. Frankie Collins is a 5-star defender. His defense today was so crucial against the speed. This team, that Chandler kid is incredible. That was I'm sure Frankie Collins knew him from probably, the high school all-star type games and that kind of stuff. And, but real happy with our defense and making free throws when we had to. Diabate, he's making some mistakes with the passes. But this team causes turnover. I guess they're one of the number 1 teams in the country in creating turnovers. And we definitely were on the wrong end of that too many times today. But big win, man. We'll get Devontae Jones healthy. We'll be a solid team and go down to San Antonio next week.
A little bit after the fact, but thanks to CBS and Jamie Erdahl, who had Juwan Howard on the court after the game there. D's saying Dickerson and Brooks were huge. Shout out to T. Will scoring those 6 big points late off the bench that added the run and pulled Michigan ahead. Here's KC talking about the next rounds. If Ohio State would win, that would be an easy path for Michigan. Yeah, I think you root for the upsets when here, and sometimes the bracket can open up for you. Michigan will be an underdog against Villanova if the Cats win tomorrow. If the Buckeyes win, I would think Michigan would be the favorite over Ohio State. Although Ohio State got 2 of the players back, we know they split their 2 games, each winning on each other's courts during the season. So, yeah, you're hoping for an all Big Ten matchup there, coming up next. We've got more on the feedback here. This one coming in from Andre, who says this team has the talent and momentum to go to the Final Four. Well, that's winning 2 more games, Scar. Are you ready to talk about the Final Four? You're laughing.
No, I mean, hey, anything's possible. We know we can beat Ohio State and play with them. And they're a good team. They're a good defensive team. They get especially if they get their full lineup back. They didn't have their full lineup the second time we played them and beat them. But hey, Villanova will be well coached. They got guys that can make free throws and shoot, and they're smart. They're not going to turn the ball over. There's no lamb chop there, no matter who we get. But again, I thought our zone defense was something we went to more in the second half, and I think that helped us out. I think it slowed down some of their success they were having on offense. Again, good. I like to have those different strategies in our defensive game plan. Little man, little zone, little half court. Some of that full court pressure still gets them out of sync a little bit. Some good stuff that we did defensively.
I'll tell you, Andre, Michigan's still like we talked about it all year long. If they could put an entire game together where, they had all the bullets in their gun and they're all firing, that actually didn't happen today. Devontae Jones played well before he went out, but, they didn't have him in the second half. Caleb Houston didn't score 1 point. So if you could think that you could get some shot making from Caleb Houston, you're still getting some impact on the bench from somebody like Terrence Williams, maybe Devontae Jones. He'll go through the concussion protocols again. Maybe he would have a chance. I know there were some people saying, why was he out there? If you go through the steps and you clear protocol, he went down, banged his wrist, had to go out, and then he hit heads with Diabate. So it's one of those things that a little bit fluky there. But he also plays. He is a physical type point guard. He's going to mix it up. He drives a lot, in the middle of the season, I was wondering where the offense was going to come from Michigan, but they've got some guards here. Yeah, they might not be shooting it from outside, but Frankie Collins can still make. He's tremendous in the open floor, and he's really good downhill in a half court. He's really good taking it to the hole and finishing. But just to that point, you get to the Sweet 16, you do look ahead. And tomorrow with Ohio State and Villanova, sometimes you need a break. If you tell me Ohio State, I feel like the bracket would open up. That would be a toss-up type game. I think Michigan can play with Villanova, but they would have to play their best game. You wouldn't think they would be able to put a goose egg up from one of their starters and beat the Cats. Then you start looking to the top half of that bracket. Maybe you need a break there. Arizona, Illinois, Houston. Could Michigan play with any of those teams? They played Arizona this year out in Vegas and got ran off the floor. Illinois beat them this year. So you maybe want to see the Fighting Illini. But, wouldn't mind seeing 2 Big Ten teams. Wouldn't mind seeing Ohio State. Wouldn't mind seeing Illinois for the right to go to the Final Four next week.
Yeah, hey, we're a different team. We are a totally different team than when we got whooped up by Arizona. This team was a bunch of freshmen. I think that might have been our 5th, 6th game of the year. This team is so different. We got Frankie Collins playing now. He's not a freshman anymore. Diabate's not a freshman anymore. I mean, these guys have played 30 games. They're settled in. And the big thing you're seeing with our freshmen though is the defense. They know how to call the switches and call out the screens and make the rotations, and that's the thing. But yeah, we're a different team. Villanova, Illinois, they're both going to be tough, Denny.
Yeah.
And we'll get a full squad. I tell you the truth, I'm just going to throw this out there, a little conspiracy, baby. I don't know for sure whether Devontae Jones had a concussion. I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm not going to always tell the truth as to why a guy isn't in or out of a game. I'm going to throw different. I'm not going to tell him he has sore ribs because that's the first thing the opponent's going to do is go for his ribs. I'm not going to tell him you know what I mean? I'm going to throw curveballs all the time that's just me. So I don't know. In fact, I would say we don't know for sure why he was out, and perhaps maybe it was his wrist because I'd never seen his knees taped before either. He had little bandages on his knees. I haven't seen that before from him. So we don't know what his injury was, but let's just hope he's 100% next week.
That's right. You hope that he's ready to go, and then you hope that this is the thing about today's game. Like it's a little bit stunning. Like if you play the game, like, hey, if I would have told you that Caleb Houston would have thrown up a bagel and Devontae Jones would have just been good for 2 points, came in, what kind of chance do you think Michigan would have had? You said not very good chance, but so then you say, well, how did they do it? Being down 5 at the half. Well, they did it with Hunter Dickinson, 8 of 13 for 27 points, 11 boards. He was 3 of 5 from downtown. Incredible performance there by Hunter Dickinson. Made a couple sweet passes too. Sometimes you're looking at that and you're thinking maybe a little bit too risky of passes, but he threw a couple there late that were good. And Diabate, you already talked about him. Diabate, sometimes you will watch him and he will make a fantastic play, and you can see why he was ranked as highly as he was in high school, and you can see why that he pops up occasionally during the season in mock drafts and everything. Then he'll take 2 plays, and you think, God, this guy's the bad play, good play, terrific play, bad play, bad play. It's a real. I'm going to call him the roller coaster. You got to get on the roller coaster, Diabate roller coaster, but. He's so good. Sometimes he can make NBA plays. Sometimes he can make high school plays.
Yeah, that's just still the inconsistency. And this is a big pressure game, a pressure environment. Even though these kids have played a lot of pressure games, they've been on the road. It's just still a different environment. And these guys are going to continue to get acclimated and get better. But yeah, he did some good things under the basket, kept the ball alive, had some big blocks. And you're absolutely right, up and down. He's a roller coaster, and but I would say he was average. He was good enough to win. Hunter was above average, and we had enough guys carry us that were above average to make up for some of our average players tonight. T. Wills putbacks. Yeah, that was outstanding, man. Yeah, coming after the ball, timing it up. He is going to be in a position. I bet you he starts getting some earlier clock next week. He's going to be subbing in earlier for Caleb Houston. That's my guess. You heard it here first. I bet you he's going to start subbing in earlier. I don't think he's going to start in place of Houston, but I think he's going to cut into some of his time.
Well, if we're going to look at how they've played here in the tournament, and you're talking about Houston. He did make some shots in the second half in round 1, but also, today, in some ways, you feel like, how the heck did they do that without Caleb Houston being able to score? But I know whatever Brandon Johns brings, maybe he brings something defensively there, but I don't really want the ball in his hands. Williams, they pointed out on the broadcast, you don't really know. He's kind of a, one of those gadget type players where, sometimes he's down on the post. He'll jack up a 3 late in the season. He was on a torrid streak from downtown after he came back from the suspension. He'll shoot a 3. He'll get a little step back mid post. Obviously flying in there with the 2 putbacks. He's a sound free throw shooter. You like that, and he's got a build on him where, and he's athletic enough and 6'6", where you feel like maybe he can do some things defensively for you.
Yeah, I think. When I look at when I compare Williams and Houston, Williams is a more physical kid. He's going to get position, and he's going to keep position a lot better than Houston will. Many times Houston gets pushed around. He gets anyway. The physicalness of Williams is an advantage as a defensive player. He can body up against bigger players. But he's a more confident kid now. So Juwan's gonna, I'm just wondering how they're gonna play that next week, because Williams is playing confident. The last month or so, he's been playing fairly confident, making big shots in big games. He does a lot of good things. So I think he's earned. If I'm coaching that team right now, I think he has earned the right to get some of Houston's minutes. That's what I believe right now.
Yeah, well, I felt like this at the poker table before, Scar, where I've been down to like my last chip. I think they say that, you're pretty much down to the felt. And then suddenly you hit a couple of hands, you're thinking about leaving early. You're already calling the car. And then, next thing you know, you're in the money and you're just happy to be there. I think Michigan's, for the way that the season has gone here, And to be able to get into the Sweet 16, a lot of this feels like they're in the money now. They're playing with house money. They're sitting back. I know that team's not going to feel like this, and I know the fans. You're supposed to be greedy, but I didn't think that Michigan was going to win this game. I didn't think heading into this tournament that they had to win them. They hadn't won back-to-back games since February the 10th. If you've watched them enough, and talking about the roller coaster and Caleb Houston, the two super freshmen, just not consistent enough. Jones getting hurt here, and then somehow we're sitting here on this Saturday night talking about Michigan getting into their fifth Sweet 16 in a row, and it really does mean a lot for this program. The way this season went, it means a lot for Juwan Howard. It is, man. They don't need a plane. They don't need a bus, man. They could just cruise home, just run, man. They got to be feeling great.
They're gonna feel good about things. It's a great situation they're in. This team just really improved, man. We're a top 16 team now. And, these young guys are actually playing the way people predicted some of, preseason that they would play. Diabate, he playing like a 5-star now, man. And Frankie Collins is defending like a 5-star. I'm not so sure Caleb Houston is quite reached that level, but we got guys that are stepping up to that level. And, a lot of good things to be thinking about. We're confident. And it helps recruiting too, Danny. I wanted to mention that this is always going to help recruiting. When a kid comes on a recruiting trip to Michigan and he sees now 6 years in a row, this is the 6th year in a row or 5th that we're in the top of the Sweet 16. 5th year in a row we're in the Sweet 16. So that helps recruiting. Anytime you play on that big stage, man, and they're used to seeing Michigan every year. Michigan, here we go again in the Sweet 16. So that all helps recruiting.
Yeah, let me just there it is. I knew I had it in here somewhere. If you look, if you go back, let me take this out really quick. This the first year on there in 2017 is where Derek Walton Jr. missed the missed against Oregon, and they would have went to the Elite Eight. And then 2018, they played Villanova, which they might see next week. And, of course, John Beeline's last year, that was the third in a row, right, where they lost to Texas Tech. They didn't have a tournament in Juwan's first year. Then last year, they were the number 1 seed. They made it to the Elite Eight. So there's your go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have your 5th one. So there we are.
Yeah, hey, this Villanova team isn't nothing like the Villanova team we lost to. Nothing close. I've seen them play many times this year. They're a good team. They're well coached. They got a good point guard. They play smart. They don't turn the ball over. Ohio State could very easily beat this team because Ohio State's got if they got the full squad that they had when they beat us in Ann Arbor, that's a good athletic team. With one of the best players in the Big Ten in Lydell. So anything can happen in this game. Both of them will be great challenges for Michigan, but both of them will be games we can win.
Scar, did you do anything else this weekend, or has it been all basketball?
Danny, I went and saw the Michigan practice yesterday, a little scrimmage, and I got some good stuff when we go Thursday afternoon, man. I got a lot of good stuff on Michigan football. There's a lot to be happy about what I'm seeing from that Michigan football team and our program. I walked out of there just fired up about we are just hitting it on all cylinders. There's a lot of good things to get into Thursday afternoon when we break it down.
Can we bump you up to Monday?
We'll talk.
Okay.
We'll talk.
You're so excited to go to the practice. I want to hear it. I'm pretty excited about this tournament here. Being able, I didn't think, it's one of those things you always say anything can happen in the NCAA tournament. Here it is for Michigan. I apologize heading into, what was it? I think after the final game of the regular season where I said, you're just a total homer if you pick Michigan to win 2 games, they're not winning, and I was chastising people and telling them, that they can't pick Michigan, that there's no reason, there's no solid analytical reason or anything that comes from anything with your head that you have watched with this team where you would predict that they would be able to win 2 games in the NCAA tournament. But here they are. So
hey, Danny, we had 2 games that are good matchups for us. People talk about this tournament and the seed and all this and that. Sometimes you'd rather have a lower seed and get a team you match up better with. We play Colorado State 10 times. They'll be lucky to beat us once, maybe twice. Really, I believe that. I think that's a great matchup for Michigan.
I agree with you.
And if we play Tennessee, listen, with Devontae Jones, that's a great matchup for us because their strength is they got really good fast guards. They got a good forward that scores, but they don't defend the low block very well. I thought that was a huge advantage for Michigan. Our 2 big guys against their 2 big guys, Diabate and Dickinson against their 2 stiffs, and I think that was an advantage Michigan. So that was a matchup that I remember I said it the other day. I said, I think we might have a good matchup with Tennessee on the low block. Old Scar said it the other day, and it played out. And I think that has a lot to do with why Hunter had such a good game is because it was they just didn't defend the low block. That's not like going against Purdue. I told you, I said, I'd rather go against Tennessee than Purdue. I'd rather go against Tennessee than Illinois. So this was a good matchup. And I think the same thing with Villanova might be a good matchup for us.
Yeah, I think you could be right about that. This particular game, it's going back and forth for the majority of it, but there did seem to be a point there where the Vols got a little bit. What do they get? I'm looking here, a 5-point lead with under 10 to play. They had a 6-point lead with 8.5 to go, and that's the part. You're down 6 with 8.5 to go. And that Kennedy's driving to the hole, and he's blowing by. Nobody could stop him. And then after that, they really did. They just went cold from downtown.
Yeah, it's just, the law of averages, Danny. It wasn't a matter of going cold. It's like, God, everything they threw up in the first, 34 minutes of the game went in. I mean, come on. Eventually, they got to miss a shot. And it just so happened. It just happened late in the game. So, that was just a law of averages, man. They ain't going to shoot like that forever. And we had a lot of fired up Wolverines. The Wolverines traveled well. We had a lot of support. Our guys were definitely feeling the Michigan love there down in Indianapolis.
Well, it was look at him over here, just looking at everything going on. Let's get a final thought from you as Michigan advances. And they'll play in the Sweet 16. We'll wait and see what happens tomorrow. What are your final thoughts here, Scar?
Hey, great team win, great coaching, great leadership by Juwan Howard. And I wish the damn media would quit talking about the 5 games he was out. Put it to bed, put it to rest. It's over. We learned from it. Players played good, highly recruited players that our coaching staff recruited, played good, played smart, are getting better, improving. That's good coaching because our guys have really improved throughout the year. And that's coaching. And we have depth. We develop depth where we're able to withstand injuries like that. So it's a great win for Michigan. Sweet 16, fired up. Everybody be healthy as we go down to San Antonio. And the Wolverines will definitely travel and be in the house. And I got a lot of good stuff on spring practice, man. A lot of good stuff. People are going to be happy with what I got, with my observations.
Scarcelli week. Great job, Scar. Thanks for coming on, and we can't wait to talk with you whenever that's going to be.
Go Blue!
Oh, Eli Brooks! Woo! Oh, Giovanni! Dickinson with the slam! Michigan advances 76-68 for Jim Scarcelli. I can listen to this